Welcome to the latest edition of Don't Take This as Gospel. I'm Mike Partika, and we're talking about movable feasts today, specifically the movable feast that happened last week, which is Easter. Now, a movable feast is a liturgical observance that moves around on the calendar. For example, an example of a non-movable feast would be something like Christmas. Christmas occurs on the same day every year. Now, in different denominations of Christianity, you might actually be celebrating it on a different day. You might celebrate it on the 25th of December if you're in the Catholic Protestant tradition. If you're in the Orthodox tradition, you'll probably be celebrating it around January 6th and call it Advent. So, the reason that there are some feasts that are movable, however, is because they're based on different particular calendar systems. And this is something that Styx Hexenhammer 666, Tarl Warwick, had a complaint about, saying, why is it that Easter always moves around? You know, sometimes you have it this day, sometimes you have it that day. And it's not a bad question, except, of course, he couches it in some idea of religious superiority in the sense of, oh, well, if you really believe that Jesus actually died on the cross and was raised from the dead, you'd be putting it on the same day. You'd mark a day and that would be the day. Well, that might be true if you actually knew what day it happened on. We don't even know what day Jesus was born on. We just have some rough back-of-the-envelope calculations that were put down in the earliest centuries of Christianity. Like, for example, in the story of the Gospel of Luke, there's the announcement to John the Baptist's father that he was going to have a son, and then from that, 6 months after that, the Virgin Mary received the announcement that she was going to have their son, Jesus, and then, of course, 9 months after that is when Jesus was born. So basically, some of the earlier church fathers took the Yom Kippur holiday of that time, added 15 months to it, and said, okay, December 25th is roughly when it was around, and hey, it just so happens that there is this pagan winter solstice festival that happens around that same time. Let's just co-opt that. And so they did, and that's basically how we got Christmas today. Easter, on the other hand, doesn't go the same way. Easter follows the tradition of Passover, which is a Jewish holiday, which is in the Bible, but the point of placing Jesus' resurrection day after Passover is the fact that he was killed around the Passover time. So Passover, being a holiday that moves around from year to year, because the Jewish calendar follows a lunar cycle rather than a solar cycle, which is what we have for our 365-day cycle. The lunar calendar of the Jews is what they use to calculate Passover, and so after Passover, when Jesus was killed, then naturally comes the resurrection. It doesn't really make that much sense to have the resurrection before the date, or at least the same ceremonial observance during which he was killed. So that's why Easter is a movable feast. You're taking the Jewish Passover, you're calculating when that occurs, and then you're placing Easter on the Sunday after that. Now, why is it, though, that we still have two different Easters, kind of like we have two different Christmases? Well, the reason is a little bit the same. Part of it has to do with the fact that there are two different solar calendars that the early church has gone by. Well, actually, not the early church, because the early church only knew one particular calendar, and that was the Julian calendar. That was a calendar that established every day, or that was the calendar that established that there were 365.25 days in every solar year. Well, the problem with that is that you wind up accumulating too much error, and so in the 1500s, they switched out the Julian calendar for the Gregorian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar has the leap years in it. So now we have calculations to take into account that it's really only about 365.24 days, and then every 400th day we just leave out or every 400th year, like in the year 2000, we leave out the leap year, and it just basically makes us more accurate as to when the actual solar year is. Now, in the Orthodox Church, their calculations of their dates, which includes Christmas and which includes Easter, they don't take into account this Julian to Gregorian switch that happened in the 1500s. They stick by the old calendar that the church originally established back when there was one united Christianity. Go and check out my Don't Take This as Gospel video on the macro history of Christian denominations if you're not sure what I mean by one united Christianity. Anyway, the original calendar that they used was the Julian calendar, and that's what they still use today, and that's why the Orthodox Church celebrates Christmas and usually Easter at, anywhere sometime after when the Catholics do, because the Catholics moved to the Gregorian calendar, and that's what they've been using since. Now, in the Catholic system, because they're on the Gregorian calendar, because they do their calculations a little bit differently, sometimes they actually do wind up having Easter before Passover, which makes no freaking sense. So I kind of like the fact that the Orthodox stuck to their guns and said, no, first he has to die, then he gets resurrected. You don't get to do it in reverse. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you all a brief explanation of why it is that Easter has moved around traditionally over the years, and why Orthodoxy and Catholicism celebrate two different Christmases, two different Easters, because you got to understand there are reasons that people do these things. And Styx Hexahammer 666 is trying to put forward the argument that Easter is just like Christmas, because in Christmas's case, like I just said, there was a winter solstice festival, and the Catholic Church, or the combined church, just basically co-opted that and said, all right, we're going to make this into a Christian holiday now, and it's going to celebrate the birth of Jesus, because we think they roughly happened about the same time. It's like fine and good. But that's not what happened on Easter, even though that's what he says happened. He's saying that it has something to do with the fertility gods and the Easter and the fertility rituals and pagan holidays, and they just basically appropriated another pagan holiday. Now, I can understand if you want to go all the way back to the Jewish calendar and say that the Jewish calendar was appropriated from a pagan festival calendar or something like that, and therefore say that Easter follows the pagan calendar on that account because it's following the Jewish calendar, which then follows the pagan calendar. That would be an argument you could make. But you can't really make that argument just saying, okay, well, the church tried to adopt a pagan festival the same way that they did with Easter, because that's just not true. Easter is tied to Passover. That's just fact. And, just have the humility to take the L and accept that, you're wrong, Styx, because I know you just, like you said in your little video, that, hey, I've edited like 400 different religious works, but that doesn't make you an expert on any of them. And it doesn't make you an expert on Christianity, which is sad because that's the tradition you came out of. But, the things that I'm talking about now are not necessarily things that, the rank and file Christians know. I didn't know until I looked stuff up just this last week, but I knew that there was more to it than what you were saying, and if you'd done a little bit of Google searching, you would have found out the same thing. So just, have a little humility and realize that you don't know everything, and there you go. All right, and of course, don't take this as gospel. I'm Mike Bartica. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you later.